every summer I have a tradition with my friends and family of floating down the Minnehaha Creek but not like canoeing and kayaking like a normal person, but actually floating on an inflatable toy. And I didn't learn anything new there, but I did it a second time this year, late in August, and what I learned was that in August it's a little bit muckier, it smells, the weeds are bigger, the flies are more present, so I learned keep it in July.
One thing I learned this summer was the new help desk system we have, Zendesk. Just basically getting ready, learning the ins and outs of it to be able to use it for one, and two, to teach everyone here, faculty and staff, students, how to use it.
I went to Napa and Sonoma Valley with my wife, and I learned the difference between Cabernet Sauvignon and Pinot Noir.
My husband was very ill, and it really made me stop and think about how wonderful life is. I was a little worried I might lose him, and I'm grateful that I didn't, and it makes me treasure every day that much more.
I learned how to save ringtones on my new phone.
I visited my nephew who works at a place called the Long Now Foundation, and they're a foundation devoted to long-term thinking, on the order of 10,000 years of long-term thinking. So they're building a 10,000-year clock out in Texas, funded by Jeff Bezos, who's founded Amazon, and we saw prototypes of this clock. It is amazing. I mean,
I moved from a Palm Trio to an iPhone, and I had to learn how to use that, and I'm still learning.
Something that I learned this summer is the process to build a house. One of my best friends, her home burned in a fire, and I watched their home be rebuilt, and so it was really exciting to see each step of the way.
Something new I learned this summer was that I'm going to get married next summer.
I learned this summer, although I have been a soccer coach at high levels, that I have not yet mastered coaching 6 and 7-year-olds.
Time management with my 5-year-old.
Well, I learned a little bit more about myself. I'm a little bit more flexible than people think I am. Having to plan a family reunion for over 50 people with just 2 people, 2 of us who live here in the Twin Cities, was a huge undertaking. And so I just learned it doesn't pay to get upset about it, just go with the flow. And it turned out great.
I am learning how to take care and be a mechanic to bicycles. And so I'm taking classes at a shop in St. Paul, and I've learned how to adjust derailleurs and brakes, and this week I'm going to learn how to take apart a hub and clean it out and repack it with grease.
This summer I made the resolution that I was going to improve my golf game. And I went to a short game school to work on my chipping and putting. And while I was there, the instructor would point at me after every shot I made and say, "It was a B-, it was a C+, it was a B." And I learned 2 things about myself. 1, I really don't like being graded. Number 2, if I am going to be graded, I really want an A.
This summer our big issue was we had grubs in our back lawn, and so they really destroyed massive portions of it. So I learned about grubs and the damage they can do.
Something that I learned this summer, I gardened for the first time, which was really incredible. I worked with a garden that's part of a project called Project Sweetie Pie. In planting, I got a lot of advice for how to space different plants and herbs, and I really didn't listen to them because, you know, it's a little seed. Why can't you plant it right next to another seed, right? But the point is to vision what the plant will be like when it grows with maturity, which I hadn't quite learned. So we have these incredible Roma tomatoes, millions of them. So I learned that you should actually read what the seed package says and take the advice of gardeners who actually know that when it says 6 feet apart, plant it 6 feet apart.
What is something brand new you learned this summer?
Well, I learned that measuring your door frame for new storm windows is harder than it looks, and that even when you get it wrong, if you have a nice person who's installing it for you, they will save you that extra charge. That's what I learned.
Something I learned this summer was how to make a variety of ice cream flavors and eat them for breakfast every morning.
And I learned how to get invited over to her house for breakfast every morning.
I went to a writing institute in New York, and I learned all about how you focus on the writer and not the writing.
I have a 3-year-old son, and this summer I relearned how to do a somersault.
This summer I learned that I have more the ability to turn my computer off for 4 weeks without answering email or responding to anything on my computer that was school related.
One thing I learned how to do this summer was how to build a patio, or at least I tried to figure out how to do it. And this is sort of my handiwork from the hottest week of July. I don't know if you
Summer I did some online courses in transformational psychology, and the part that was so fascinating was to really wrap my mind around the whole idea that we really are able to go beyond and evolve beyond those core beliefs that we hold.
In the summer? Yeah, actually from the Blake history book by Jan Woolman. I think I really enjoyed learning about the philosophical differences between Blake and Northrop that dated way back to the early 1900s.
And you were here then, right?
Yeah, not quite, no.
Oh, okay.
Did you learn something this summer?
I learned how to cut an egress window out of a house and put in an egress window. So that was my big learning thing
Wow.
I did this summer, was put in an egress window.
Have you crawled out of that window?
I have, yeah.
And have you crawled back in?
I did.
Good.
And it works. It's safe. We'll see
Good.
if it holds water out.
All right.